two of the best games of this year, Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. In this video, I'll explain why Elden Ring won the Game of the Year award over God of War Ragnarok. Welcome back to another video, fellas, and my last video on YouTube. For 2022. The Game Awards were announced and many game developers were left with feelings of fulfillment seeing their hard work pay off. Gamers and fans were also sharing the same joy as the Game Awards featured long-awaited sequels and expansions for their favorite games. In addition, there were many unforgettable moments during the ceremony itself, ranging from long speeches to unprecedented events. In the end, everybody celebrated the big winner of the night. A lot of gamers felt that Elden Ring truly deserved the Game of the Year award. However, some people are confused at how Elden Ring won compared to God of War Ragnarok, considering that overall, God of War Ragnarok won more awards. So, let's dig into it and see why Elden Ring won. When talking about video games, the most important thing to consider is of course the gameplay. In God of War Ragnarok, the players are put into the shoes of Kratos. Kratos wields a bunch of weapons that players use to defeat a bunch of enemies that approach them. Aside from that, the game features an open world environment that players can explore to uncover more stuff. When it comes to the combat, it is very flowing and satisfying. Each weapon swing and combo feels like there is weight to them. The bosses in God of War Ragnarok are also pretty damn good. To sum up, the gameplay revolves around telling the story of Kratos and his experiences. Considering how deep of a character Kratos is, the gameplay made sure to deliver this experience to the players. On the other hand, we have Elden Ring. Elden Ring is known as a pretty damn hard game. This means that it features very difficult bosses with different kinds of mechanics that the player must think about. In short, it is definitely not an easy game. What separates Elden Ring from the other games in similar series is that it features an open world that can be explored by the player. Basically, the players can feel the world as they go through it. Unlike in God of War Ragnarok, the players do not play as an already solidified character. Instead, players take the mantle of the nameless character that represents the players themselves. Now, this may sound a bit cliché, but basically, you start as a nobody who will eventually grow into somebody, and this is a great feeling in video games. It gives a sense of fulfillment like no other. Because of this, compared to God of War Ragnarok, it features more flexibility in combat and fighting style, and also, each combat situation will feel different, depending on the build the players choose to go with. In addition, the bosses in this game are ridiculously difficult and yet somehow interesting. The difficulty does not get really frustrating, and it feels like there is a sense of learning with every death. And of course, when a boss finally goes down, it gives you such a great relief and fulfillment. Moreover, when looking at the narratives of both games, it can probably be automatically assumed that God of War Ragnarok takes this spot as Elden Ring's lore can be a bit too complex. And yet, its lore and story is something truly amazing when diving into it. Compared to God of War Ragnarok, Elden Ring does not focus on a singular character's journey. Instead, it features a building of the world around the player as they continue to move through the story. There are many aspects in the world that players have to put together. Apart from this, when it comes to storytelling, Elden Ring does it in the most unique way possible. For example, when you are fighting the different bosses in the world, the background music changes. That is because this music is essentially telling the story of the boss and how they got there. It was truly a unique experience of listening and understanding who the boss is when looking at the soundtrack. And it also does not stop there. There are also many hidden pieces of lore hidden around the world, and putting them together gives a brand new perspective on who the characters in the game are. At the other end, in God of War Ragnarok, the story focuses on Kratos and his son as they go through the different realms, meeting with different gods from the Norse pantheon. Compared to the story of Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok is a more personalized story that focuses on the growth of each individual character, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. This becomes really crystal clear with Kratos and his son. Kratos is trying to make up for his past and be a better person. He has gone through a lot of crazy experiences that he does not want his son to go through. He knows all the consequences of doing such things and simply wants his son to be better. Now, if you think about it, both games were amazing and it's really hard to pick which one was the best because both of them were simply astonishing. So maybe it all comes down to taste in the end. In any way, I believe the winning point went to Elden Ring because it simply felt new and original. I mean, come on, it is pretty damn hard to pick which one is the better, as both of them are top-level storytelling with thought-provoking themes. And also, both tell a different kind of story. With this in mind, it is very difficult to judge between the two. However, there is a big difference when looking at each game individually. Elden Ring may be a part of the Souls series, but it is still a unique game with a unique, self-contained story. On the other hand, God of War Ragnarok is part of the story of God of War. Looking at the games individually, Elden Ring is a bit better because it was able to tell the story of a whole world. In God of War Ragnarok, the story is also great on its own, but the fact that it only becomes that much more heavier is due to knowing the experiences of the characters from the previous games. So in simple words, God of War Ragnarok is dependent on the previous installments, which again is not a bad thing. And so, just to close this video, let me clarify that in my opinion, both games are super, extremely awesome. Both deserve to go down in history as pieces of the greatest games ever made. It just so happened that Elden Ring won the battle between the two as the game of the year. However, this does not make God of War Ragnarok a bad game in any case. Let me know your opinion on this topic, fellas. Do you think Elden Ring justly won the Game of the Year award? Or do you think God of War Ragnarok should have won instead? As always, don't forget to smash like and subscribe if you're still watching. Until the next one, have an amazing and happy new year, and I'll see you all next year.
Justice. Justice is not what we seek. It is vengeance.
I knew you were the stuff of champions. It was a marvelous battle.